Today we're going to be solving equations with variables on both sides. And when we say both sides, we always mean of the equal sign, okay? Here's our first problem. 7n minus 5 equals 10n plus 13. So here are the steps we're going to do. I always like to give them to you like a little recipe, so you have them listed to follow if you need them, and then once you know how to do it, once you've done a bunch, you can just do them automatically. So please write the steps down. Number 1, move the smallest variable term using the inverse operations. So on this side of the equation we have 7n, and on this side of the equation we have 10n. Now sometimes they'll be negative, so you have to pay attention. But what's smaller, 7n's or 10n's? 7n's. So the inverse, since this does not have a subtraction sign in front of it, doesn't have a minus, doesn't have a negative, anything you want to call it, you know this is positive. So the inverse will be negative. So we're going to subtract 7n's from both sides. Okay, so now we have negative 5, do not forget this sign in front of the 5, equals 10 minus 7n, 3n, plus 13. We just carry it down. Now the variables are on one side of the equal sign, so move the constants, the numbers, so they're together. So now I have to move this 13 to be over here with this 5, because I don't want to move this 5, because then it'll be equal 0. The only thing I look for the smallest one on is when I get started on the variables. Okay, some students sometimes say, but negative 5 is smaller. We don't care, okay? We just care the first time. Now we're going to move the numbers to be together. So since this is plus 13, I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. Negative 5 minus 13. Notice, this is a negative and this is a negative. So same sign, sum. And remember, sum means add. So negative 5 and negative 13 gives me negative 18. Positive 13 minus 13, those zero each other out. Then I bring down my 3n. Finally, I multiply or divide to finish solving. So this is 3 times n, so I divide both sides by 3. Negative 18 divided by 3. Now, are those signs going to be positive or negative? Is your answer going to be positive or negative? Well, in multiplying and dividing, if they're the same sign, it's positive, but different signs, it's negative. So I have negative 6 equals n. Number 4 says rewrite with the variable on the left if necessary. It's always good to have your final answer have the variable on the left. So I just flip-flopped them over. So I have n equals negative 6 and I boxed my answer. Now you can easily check this by taking your original equation and substituting in negative 6 every time there was an n. Okay, so I did that down here. I said 7 times negative 6 minus 5 equals 10 times negative 6 plus 13, because that's the same as this, but instead of n's I have negative 6. Now I'm just going to do the math. 7 times negative 6 is negative 42 minus 5 equals 10 times negative 6, negative 60, plus 13. Look at these sides now. Negative 42, negative 5. There's the same sign in front of each number if you were just looking at the numbers to tell me if they were positives or negatives. So same sign, sum. You could also rewrite this so that it was negative 42 plus negative 5 if you wanted to, and then they would stand out. But anyhow, that's negative 42 minus 5 is negative 47. Here I have negative 60 plus 13. These are different signs, so you take the difference, which is subtraction, and so negative 60 plus 13, I do 60 minus 13 and I get 47, and I know it's negative 47 because there were more negatives to begin with. All right, I did a lot of talking on that one. I won't do as much on these. All right, sometimes you need to simplify each side first. You may need to use the distributive property or combine like terms before you can find the smallest variable term. So here I have 1/2 times the quantity of 2n plus 6. Remember, whenever you are reading with parentheses, you say times the quantity, equals 5n minus 12 minus n. How many n's are here? What's the coefficient of this n? Remember, if you'd like, you can always write a 1 to help you remember, okay? All right, so we're going to distribute the half and combine like terms. Half of 2 is 1. but I'm not going to write the 1. You can if you want to. I didn't this time. Half of 6 is 3. 5n, take away 1n is 4n, and then I just copy down the minus 12. Now, I can see I have 1n and I have 4n's. What's smaller? 1n. So I will subtract it because that'll make this go away. That makes it 0 out because this is a positive n. Minus n minus n. I get 3 on the left equals 4n, take away 1n, gives you 3n's, and then copy down the negative 12. Okay, so what we just did was we found the smaller variable term and moved it, and now we're going to move the numbers so they are on the other side of the equal sign from my variable terms. Because I don't want to move this 3, I want to get all the numbers together, and since the n's are on this side, I need to move the 12. This is a negative 12, so the opposite of that would be add 12 on both sides of the equal sign. Now 3 plus 12 is 15, and I just carry the 3n down, and negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So now I have 15 equals 3 times n. Inverse of multiply by 3 is divide by 3. So I divide by 3 on both sides, and I get 5 equals n. And once again, I would like you to rewrite it so the n is first. And if I were going to check this, I would plug in, substitute. Whenever I say plug in, I'm supposed to say substitute. I'm trying to remember that all the time. The 5, substitute the 5 for every n. So for here, here, and here. Okay? So 1/2 times the quantity of 2 times 5 plus 6 equals 5 times 5 minus 12 minus 5. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 6 is 16. So I have 1/2 times 16. 5 times 5 is 25, minus 12 minus 5. Half of 16 is 8. 12 minus 25, 25 minus 12. You can do that in your head and say subtract 5, or you could say 25 minus 12. I did over here is 13, and then 13 minus 5 is 8. So we work. We tie. Yay. Okay. Sometimes you might need to write the equation. What if I give you a problem that says this? 8 less than 2 times a number is the same as the number increased by 24. Okay, you first say, oh, less than means I'm going to have to write it minus 8. So I did that. 2 times a number, how do I do that? 2 times n, or you could say x, is the same as, that's my equal sign, the number increased by, what does that mean? You have to think about that. 24. So the number increased by 24, I know that that's n plus 24. And now I do my steps. I didn't write them down. See if you can remember them. Find the smallest variable term. What is it? It's the n, the 1n. So I subtract that from both sides. 2n, take away 1n is 1n. This time I decided to write it. Okay, you may or may not, but eventually you won't write it, okay? Bring down the minus n. These 0 out. Bring down your equal sign. Bring down your 24. Now I need to, since I have the n's on this side, I need to move my numbers to the other side. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and I end up with n equals 32. See, this was a word problem, but it's the easiest one we've done so far. And then to check, I'm going to substitute the 32 for the n in both places. So I'm going to say 2 times 32 minus 8 equals 32 plus 24. 2 times 32 is 64, and then 64 minus 8 is 56, and 32 plus 24 is 56. So I worked out. One more problem. You can also solve area or perimeter problems using this method, but we are going to concentrate on perimeter this time, okay? I'm going to underline perimeter. So here's a square, and I know it's a square because I have the tick marks all the same. You know, these little lines are the tick marks. They're telling me all sides are congruent, and you really need to also have this 90-degree angle in there telling you that that's a 90-degree angle. So this side is 4 times x. This side is 36 minus 5x, but since it's a square, I know those sides are equal, okay? So we need to find the perimeter of the square. So step 1, we find the value of x so that we can find the side length, and then step 2, we'll find the perimeter, and you can either use the formula perimeter equals 4 times s. Since this is a square, we just can say 4 times the side length because they're all the same. Or our standby formula for any rectangle, square, or parallelogram, 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. All right, so since this is a square, the sides have to be the same. So I say this side equals this side. I just set it up. This side equals this side. Okay, so 4x equals 36 minus 5x. Now, if you were just looking at the numbers without the sign, you would say 4x is smaller. But it's not 4x and 5x. It's 4x and negative 5x. So don't forget the terms, okay? They're connected. Well, negative 5 is smaller than 4, so I'm going to move the negative 5x. And I'm going to do the inverse operation by writing down positive 5x, because that's plus 5x. 4x plus 5x is 9x. Carry down my equal sign. Carry down my 36. And negative 5x and positive 5x, that makes 0. Now I have 9x, which means 9 times x, equals 36. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I'll divide both sides by 9 and get x equals 4. That's not my answer. I'm not done. That's just what x is so I can find the side length, okay? So remember, it's 4 times x and 36 minus 5x. I drew another square over here, and I substituted in the value of my variable for the x. So 4 times 4 is 16. And now let's check this side. 36 minus 5 times 4, 36 minus 20, 16. If they don't equal, that means you made a mistake somewhere. Okay, they have to equal. It's a square. So I'll show you the perimeter using both formulas. Perimeter equals 4 times s, 4 times the side, would be 4 times 16, or 64 units, since I didn't tell you what the measurement was. If we did perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, well, it's still 2 times 16 plus 2 times 16, because their length and width are the same. We showed that 16 and 16 since it's a square. So 2 times 16 is 32 plus 32 is 64. So it equals. Now you have a variety of type of problems you can solve. That's it.